Merry Christmas, everyone. This is actually going to be my Christmas Day video, so let's just kind of jump in and have a little bit of fun with it. It's J Gaming Dude here, and I'm going to be talking about how The Last of Us Online is now being cancelled. So what we knew as like the live service game that Naughty Dog was originally going to work on, it's interesting to see how like the live service idea that's been going around the industry is now slowly starting to, sort of tear itself apart among other things. It's fascinating to think about only because Sony has halved the number of live services that they've had effectively within the coming year. Originally it was supposed to be 12, now 6 have been moved on to like later on rather than within the coming year. And it's unfortunate to think about, but when you think about live services, I mean, how can you not talk about Bungie? The fact that they've had Destiny running for so long to the point where they've now been sort of incredibly predatory with their monetization, almost to the point where players of the game are being like, no, I'm not having any of this from what Bungie is trying to sell us at this point. Given that they have been giving rubbish content, and that's been kind of causing Destiny to be in a bit of a downturn. On top of that, Marathon had been delayed. On top of that, a bunch of people have been let go of from Bungie in order to save face. But now the looming threat, or the sort of Damocles that's over the head of them, is Sony at the moment, who will completely get rid of the entire leadership team in favor of Sony's own leadership team in the event anything goes wrong. So right now, anything and everything Bungie is doing, they're doing either to or with themselves, and eventually Sony is going to have to step in if things keep going the way that they are. But what's most interesting about this particular story is why Naughty Dog eventually kind of looked at themselves in the mirror and thought, now we probably have to cancel this. And that comes down to a single ultimatum that I feel like I wish most people should have figured out a long ass time ago when it comes to live services. Either you can keep making the games that you do, or use the entire team that exists in the whole studio, like just everyone in the studio working on this one single game in an attempt to try and keep it alive about as much as a beached whale trying to like breathe air into the damn thing. Because that's kind of what happened with BioWare to an extent. BioWare made Anthem, and they are known for making single-player story-driven fantasy RPGs, not whatever the heck that turned out to be with Anthem. And even so, like, you might think, oh, but there are games like Diablo, there's stuff like Call of Duty, like these live services, obviously, there's Overwatch and stuff like that. It's worth keeping in mind that Blizzard, who made Diablo and Overwatch, are a significantly larger team than Naughty Dog. Way, way larger, like in the thousands larger than what Naughty Dog is. And so, in terms of this individual body count, so when you really think about it, Naughty Dog doesn't have enough people to keep the whole thing running the whole time forever. Otherwise, they'll have to sacrifice their single-player chops in order to keep a live service running that may not even guarantee the returns that they're after, and ultimately may shut down in future. So instead, they're hanging their hat up now in order to avoid they're hanging their hat up now in order to avoid that, anything, the house of cards collapsing right in front of them, and instead they're going to repurpose the tech into their more single-player games. And what makes the whole thing even better is that they are actually making single-player stuff. Like, there is something that is coming. We just don't know what it is or what it's going to be about. It could be a Last of Us Part 3, who knows? It'll be interesting to see, and I'll be interested to see like what it's going to be, how it goes, and everything else in between. But I feel like, if nothing else, it's great that these live services are falling, and they're disappearing, and that people are kind of going more back to hopefully leaning more back into the boxed copies of games that we've been so used to buying, and not having to lean into additional monetization beyond sort of daily spending, or asking people to spend the remainder of their life playing this one game that they've made, except that there's like 20 to 30 different companies that are making games that are similar to that, and so one person can only play so many games at once, or just to be able to keep up with the content. Sometimes it's not even worth it. Sometimes it's just this endless stream of mediocrity of content that just ultimately does not benefit anyone, and causes people to just be like, why do I even bother playing games anymore if they're not going to be better than just straight up mediocre? But yeah, that was kind of like a little bit of like a sort of my like look at live services in general. Of course, with it being like a good day today, i.e. Christmas, it's just kind of good to know that, like, good things happen to good people, and to ultimately there will be some benefit to there being no more, like, or rather Naughty Dog not having to waste their time on this pile of absolute rubbish, or pile of offal, depending on how you want to describe it, moving forward. So if nothing else, good news all around. Let me know what you guys thought about what's been going on with Naughty Dog in the comments below. Of course, I know I'm late to this, but it's definitely worth talking about, especially given what has been happening as of late. With all that said and done, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, do want my videos to go out to more people, as well as trying to reach 100 subs by the end of the year, which is coming very, very close. We've got a week left. I'm pretty much hoping that I can hit 100, but it's probably not going to happen. With all that said and done, I do upload every day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.